It's a bit of a misconception that you get an idea for a story. You need two ideas for a story, and they need to be two things that aren't related to each other. So, and we'll talk about this a bit later, but the example of Eric, it's the experience of having a guest, and some of you may have had the experience of having a guest, particularly someone from another country, stay with you for an extended period. That is an idea. Pretty interesting. A lot of stuff can happen. But by itself, it's not necessarily an interesting story. Then I have something else from my sketchbook, which is this little leaf guy. Okay, now I drew that, and it wasn't originally connected to the story of an exchange student. But when you put the two together, suddenly you have a story, because you're starting to see something you know from a different point of view, with a whole set of problems that you don't expect. And that, for me, is where stories start. It's the chemical reaction between two things that don't really belong together. And you put them together in a drawing or in a sentence. Sometimes it's just two words put together, and that's when your imagination starts going, because you're trying to figure out, why are they together? What's going on? And this process of daydreaming begins, and that's where a story comes from. Not always a good story, but sometimes it can be a really great story, but it has to be something that you don't expect. If you keep doing things you expect, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to end in a place that you expect to end up in. You have to have unexpected things. I do lots of tests in my sketchbook. I will write and draw a story multiple times, and I usually write too much. My first draft, way too much. I draw too much, too many pictures, and then I cut it down to the best ones. That's basically it.
That's good. So drafting, redrafting, going through.
Brainstorming, where you just write everything down that you can possibly think, everything. Draw everything that you can possibly think of till you can't stand it anymore. And then from that pile, you just filter it and filter it and filter it. There'll be a few favourite things. So you take the favourites and then you redraw those again. And then you take those favourites and you keep going. So it evolves. And that's basically what leads you to a relatively simple story in the end, but it can be quite a complicated process. And you'll find when you're doing creative work, what really spurs you on is not solutions, but problems. It's these hanging problems, very difficult problems that you're trying to figure out, and trying to get one a step ahead of your reader in figuring out. So that was quite a tough exercise, trying to make this series work and understand who these people were. The other good lesson from that is that you don't need to know what your stories are about to write. In fact, that can stop you from writing freely. You just need to imagine what happens next, one step at a time. Don't worry about what it means or where it's going. Just keep going, and you'll trust that you will find a way through, and you'll find some interesting answers. But it's very interesting the way writing and drawing can channel parts of yourself that you're not aware of, and memories that you're not aware of, into a form that becomes visible, but it's still strange and quite dreamlike. And I love that as a reader, and I love that as a creator, if I can create a story that has that feeling. I'm not necessarily a very imaginative person ordinarily. I need something to make me think about things differently. And the idea of an animal, particularly like a dugong, that doesn't belong on a front lawn, but there it is, I put it there, and then I think, not so much what the dugong is or what's going on, or how it got there. That doesn't matter to me. What's most important is how people react to that. What does it make you think about and feel, and how do you behave, and what is your impulse? Is it to be horrified and disturbed? Is it that you want to help it? Is it that you want to ignore it because it's too difficult to think about? It's somebody else's problem? This is the central question in a lot of my stories, is when you see something weird, such as an animal, in a place where it's not meant to be, is your reaction one that's fearful or compassionate? And sometimes it's a mix of those two things that I find most interesting.